All right, we will call to order this February 8th, 2022 meeting of the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Would you lead us in the pledge?
I respectfully decline.
First time ever. Sorry, Tony, you're on deck.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel,
You have to start right off with that here.
Commissioner Vogler,
Here.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Oh,
I'll note that we are being live streamed right now. It's being pushed out to our YouTube channel. Additionally, anyone that has business before the board, I'd ask that they we don't have a chair in place right now, but I'd ask that they approach the mic so we can pick it up for our purposes in compiling the minutes. Row officer reports and comments. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing any representatives of row officers or row officers themselves here today. Public comments. Is there any member of the public who wishes to make public? Dan, approach the bench.
I will be up here. For you that don't know me, I'm Dan Kennedy, Chairman of the Supervisors of Wilmington Township. Joe's not here, but I have another packet to present to Joe.
Joe's right there.
I am over here today.
He just hiding. But Brian was gonna come with me, he's sick today. We wanted to thank you guys for helping us with Cottage Grove Bridge. The residents of that were landlocked if we didn't do something with that, and that thing decided to do what the bridge in Pittsburgh did, but it did. We got it done before that happened. Unfortunately, we have another one, and it's closed. We had to close the road right now. So we're working hard to get that Means Road back open in Wilmington Township. We're asking for you guys' help again. I know you're tired of me coming, but
who gave him the address down here? Who gave
If I gave him the wrong
him?
one, he somehow found it.
without you guys,
It's getting transitory.
we couldn't get this stuff done. Unfortunately, for Wilmington Township, it was neglected for years. They knew they had issues, and I told by now I got the 18 supervisors. We're working to get things done out there and get things on the right track. And with your help, it's getting done. So from Wilmington Township and the residents, thank you. The other way is anything we can ever do for you guys, we're willing to help. So I'll give this to Joe.
Is that to, yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Joe.
Always good to see you, Dan.
Absolutely. You are doing your duty as a supervisor, taking the time to put things together
And
to be able to utilize the money that you're eligible for.
we drive poor Amy crazy.
Well, everybody does. I know there's at least 3 of her, so she's not fooling me.
But I'm going to sit and support you guys too, because that's part of what we should be doing too.
Oh, we
Thank
definitely
you.
appreciate
Thank
your willingness to
you.
sit through the government meeting.
Yes.
We'll try to keep it as lively and entertaining as possible.
Gets me out of the truck for an hour.
Any additional public comments? Seeing none. Fiscal and contractual, we have no repository properties up for bid, no advertising bids or proposals, no receipt of bids or proposals. We do have warrant registers from February 2nd, January 31, and January 28, 2022 for consideration. Give my colleagues a minute to look those over, and then I'll take a motion to accept and file the warrant register. The warrant register is culmination of the county's fiscal process. It starts, actually technically starts with the budget process, but really starts when the department head or row officer or member of court administration requests anything from staples to association dues to a new truck to a new building. They fill out a purchase order. That purchase order gets sent down to the controller's office who encumbers that order, makes sure that there's money in the budget for it. From there, once it's ensured that there's money in the budget, that purchase order gets sent out to the Board of Commissioners office. 2 commissioners sign off on it to approve it, or don't sign off on it and it doesn't get approved. Then it heads back down to the controller's office with those 2 signatures. The controller authorizes the treasurer to pay the bill. All bills paid compiled to the warrant register, which is then sent back to us to approve or deny at a Board of Commissioners meeting.
Well said.
I'll note, I think your visit here is timely, Mr. Kennedy,
Right.
because there is a listing here for Wilmington Township, $75,000, which my assumption is that is for the Cottage Grove Bridge, making that as an assumption.
And we got that check yesterday and we thank you.
And, you know, we accept your thanks. I should note, we should accept it at least in part because the dollars that we've been able to allocate actually come to us from the Commonwealth. These are not general fund dollars from the property taxpayers of Lawrence County. These are primarily either liquid fuel dollars or Marcellus dollars that the state put together probably about at least a decade ago. But we're happy to distribute them accordingly. But I do want to make it very, very clear that the dollars we've been able to help your township with as it relates to the two bridges and other bridges throughout the county are primarily liquid fuel dollars that come to us from the Commonwealth. But again, we're happy to help you.
Yes.
We thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep.
I will move to approve all three.
Second. The motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, the minutes from Tuesday, February 1, 2022. Again, I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over. Then I'll take a motion to accept and file the minutes or make any changes as necessary this week.
I was not here, so I will defer
I'll move
to
for,
the two of you.
thank you. I'll move for adoption.
I will second that. We have a motion second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Any abstentions?
Stay.
Motion carries. No presentation or written communication. Staff reports. Do we have any member of staff here that has anything to report about beyond what's already on the agenda? Seeing none, move on to commissioner reports and comments. Dan, you're on deck first today. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. We'll be voting here shortly on the proposal for the new location for District Judge Russo. And I want to thank Mr. Wish and Mr. Borelli for their patience. We received numerous proposals, and yours obviously rose to the top. And look forward to the progress that will be made. And I think it should be noted that you look around at the numerous developments your organization has been involved with throughout our community. They're all first class. And I have no doubt that this one will be as well. So I look forward to casting that vote here shortly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Thank you. Loretta, you're on deck.
I will ditto the same sentiments, most definitely. It's been a long time coming. The last couple of years I know with Morgan, with you and I, new to the board, I know they struggled with it prior to us being on the board, that it's something else that we can put closure on and have a great product there. And I believe that Magistrate Russo is very happy with everything that Wish Development has done and to make it very accommodating for him. So again, yes, thank you guys for your patience. And also, Dan, you know, you make it seem like a simple thing that you come and you thank us, but it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of work on your supervisors, your part, the secretary's part, getting the paperwork together. Yes, it's the money's available to all of the 27 municipalities that they would come before us and put something together, but you guys do it. You do it and you get it done, and it's all to make your community better. So we thank you for taking advantage of the fact that you can utilize the monies that we do receive to make your community better.
We didn't do that. Debbie, my wife, you know how she is.
Yes, we know how she is.
We challenged her to, Bill Humphrey from Taylor said, why don't you just have Debbie do it? So we have Debbie do it. So gives her something to do. Now she's going to have a lot to do. We have some other projects coming down the line. So we'll keep her busy.
God bless you guys.
That's it.
I'll echo my colleague's sentiments. We'll wrap that up in terms of commissioner comments and start the main show.
Here we go.
Oh, may I ask Dan a quick question?
Sure.
Speaking of bridges, and you may recall a few months ago, we had the opening of the Banks Covered Bridge, which the county owns and maintains. And we need to thank you for your cooperation, you and your colleagues. I know you folks did some work around the bridge in terms of culverts and so on. So we appreciate that working relationship. I assume you travel that road a lot. I assume everything's okay with the Banks covered bridge, as best you can tell.
It is. We have some ideas of what we need a logo for Wilmington Township, and it's probably going to be the Banks covered bridge. We're proud of that bridge being in our township. So that's the discussion we had the other day, and I think we're going to adopt it and make that our logo for Wilmington Township.
Make sure the plaque is visible.
Oh, I don't want Morgan's name on there.
You're not the only one, brother.
Behind you,
You're fine, Loretta, with this Morgan. You just don't want on it. You and
You're not the only one.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna even say it. All right, in terms of process here, this was tabled last week, resolution, which reads, whereas the commissioners desire to enter a professional contract with Wish Development with its principal place of business at 26 Nesbitt Road, Suite 300, New Wilmington, or Newcastle, PA, 16105. So he's talking to Wilmington here for the past couple of minutes. Whereas the commissioners desire to execute the attached term sheet with Wish Development for Tennant County of Lawrence District Court 53-3-04, the Honorable Rick Russo. And now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners to execute the attached term sheet with Wish Development. The process that will follow for this in terms of voting on it is right now it's on the table, so we take a motion to remove it from the table, at which point it will allow us to act on the resolution. So what we'll do is we'll remove it from the table. We'll call on representatives from Wish Development just to give a brief overview of the project, overview of the process, and then we'll call the vote on it. That sounds good to everybody.
Sure.
So starting off, we'll take a motion to remove resolution 2022-36 from the table.
So moved.
Second, the motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Up next, if Mike or Tony or whoever's willing to present, if you'd be able to approach the bench and just give us sort of an overview of.
You're welcome to pull a chair up if you'd like, Mike.
Sure.
So you don't have to stand.
That way the camera can catch my bald spot.
Well, good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the generous comments. We're very pleased to be partnering, and we do use that word potentially, partnering with the county to provide what I believe will be a very fine governmental style building, a very professional suit, if you will, for District Justice Russo. So we're here at your convenience. So if there are any questions, interrupt me, and I'll make it fairly short. So the building obviously is at 3470 Wilmington Road, former Tuscany Square. We have presented to the commissioners and District Justice Russo in the courts a new paint scheme for the building, removing the awnings, using a bronze paint on the turret roof and so forth. Prominent signage for the magistrate's office immediately across the street from their current location, right down the street from the state police barracks, and 2 doors down from Sheets, and immediate access to Mitchell Road. The interior will be fitted out with a custom floor plan, which is very generous in terms of the space for current and future use, including District Justice Russo was concerned about the potential for nuptials and the crowds that would bring, and potential staff growth and storage and so forth. So I think we have really a very well worked through term sheet or a floor plan, which we've, I think, had 4 or 5 iterations on at this point. It'll receive the same fit and finish that we use for all of our projects, which is we're making UPMC happy, which is one of our largest clients. I think we can do this. We have a lot of experience in terms of, not a lot of experience, but we have very solid experience in terms of secure buildings. We've done some work for the federal and state governments, where including law enforcement agencies with shatterproof glass and bulletproof glass and wall assemblies and so forth, where we believe we'll be able to really deliver a prominent and professionally developed project. So appreciate your trust in us, and we won't let you down.
Questions, comments from my colleagues?
Just very briefly, that it's the planning and working with Magistrate Russo, the time and effort that was spent with that. I know he's appreciative of it. I just, my thought is, this is what he has wanted. It suits him. You've met with him. 100%. It's a great project.
I think most present judges would be happy with this,
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
honestly.
And like you said, you met with the judge as well, but to see it, yeah, yes.
One thing that ties into this, at least indirectly, is that, and every county is going through this right now, and it's kind of overshadowed by everything in Harrisburg as it relates to reapportionment of congressional and legislative districts. But the courts are required every 10 years after the census to review the boundaries of the district judges' districts, of which in Lawrence County we have 4 right now. Judge Amodi, Judge Cartwright, Judge Nicholson, and of course Judge Russo. Our courts here at the county level have officially proposed maintaining the current boundaries of those 4 districts, not making any changes to them. And then if I'm not mistaken, after a period of time for public comment, they will then submit that proposal to the, I assume it's either the AOPC or the state Supreme Court. I'm not sure which, but it'll go to Harrisburg.
Mhm.
And so that's the good news. If that plan holds out, the boundaries will remain as they currently are for the next decade. And then, of course, 10 years from now, I won't be here, but at 10 years from now, they'll have to review it again. So I was pleased to see that they're going to maintain the boundaries as they currently are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Just one question for you. Once we enter into this contract, when would you expect to be able to deliver the building to Rick?
In the term sheet, we identified 180 days, but I think we can certainly do it faster than that. Subsequent to today's vote, assuming that it goes our way, we'll place calls to our HVAC, electrical subs, and so forth. We'll start digging into the engineering on the building. We'll immediately be putting together a finish board to seek approval from Magistrate Russo and this board in terms of fit and finish. We identify long lead term items. Doors, for example, are a stupid thing that is always a difficulty. Even HVAC units. And so, for example, with HVAC units, we'll get those ordered, but they are potentially very long lead time items. I want to give you likely need 2 5-ton units here. We haven't done that engineering yet, but we'll provide new units so that when you're starting out, you have a brand new assembly, but we have units there. So even if we have to start with a used unit and circle back and leave a punch list open, we're pretty darn good about not missing deadlines. We just delivered a almost 25,000 square foot, very challenging build in Hermitage for a medical building in the middle of the pandemic, and we did very well with that. So I see no problems with this. So, a little bit's going to depend on this board in terms of ratification of a contract and, and feedback in terms of we present you with material. You got to catch the ball and lob it back to us in a timely manner, and we'll be able to, I think, accelerate off of that 180 days to maybe 120 or so.
We need to be mindful. You touched on it. We need to be mindful on understanding the fact that the whole issue of, you probably live it every day, the supply chain and your ability or lack thereof to get the necessary materials that you need. We need to be understanding of that fact that that's beyond our control and your control in many respects. Now, I'm going to ask an ignorant question because I'm a layman, I'm not in your line of work. Given the current weather conditions as well, does a project like this allow you to do a lot of inside work and save the outside work for better weather conditions? Does that?
Well, yes and no. So and maybe Tony would be better to speak to this, but he does the vast majority of the project management for our company. But first off, we start with the contract, we start with the general engineering, and we assemble what's called a permit set. Okay, so you have to understand what's there. We'll camera all the pipes that are there, make sure that everything's where all the existing ductwork is, and identify what needs done, and be able to put the thing together. And then, technically, before we're allowed to even do demolition, we have to file that permit set, have it reviewed and approved. We have a terrific code officer in Shannick. Tom McCosby is fabulous and very workable guy. He's someone who he makes sure you're doing what you need to do, but he's there cooperating to make sure that you can do your job. So I don't anticipate any difficulties in that regard. So yes and no. We would sequence the work, of course, as weather permits, but there's not that much exterior work. And there's a lot of work that has to happen before any hammers start swinging. So, we're front loading the purchasing, the identification of fit and finish, the purchasing, so that we can avoid supply chain snags. And we're having to do all that engineering up front. And then we use excellent local subs where we sequence the work and put it forward just like any of these other projects.
May I ask another question? So that there's no misunderstanding, and I hope you can reinforce this, that the area that you're designating for the district judge and his staff is not the entire building. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Under the term sheet, we had identified 2,800 square feet. We went back because Justice Russo was concerned about having enough room for storage and so forth. We reworked the design a little bit, and I do think it's gotten better with every iteration. So we're now at 2,910 square feet. And the entire building is about 52 or so. And then there is the exterior patio, which we will actually put a roof over that, which is, it's certainly not a free room, but we're able to, we don't need to put in new footers and, new frost footing and so forth. We'll be able to enclose that, and that will become the new waiting room. No, and then we've identified in the term sheet under Article 4 the use that the landlord will not lease the space we're going to negotiate in good faith to identify uses that are inconsistent. For example, we're not going to put a heavy drinking bar, a gambling establishment, whatever uses we kind of work out.
Yeah, that's
Well, I appreciate your clarifying that, because I don't want people to have the misunderstanding that we'll be using that entire building.
No.
We're using a portion of it, but not the entire building, so thank you.
Yes, and further, Commissioner, the floor plan is a generous floor plan, very well laid out, but there's a big difference between, everyone has their sweet spot in terms of what they're able to do. One thing that Tony is particularly good at is being able to lay out a very efficient space so that you're not allocating a lot of square footage to hallways and to wasted areas. So when we give you 2,910 square feet, you're getting about the biggest bang you can out of that. And, I think it's fair to say that a lot of other designers, especially somebody who's not interior architectural oriented or maybe engineering oriented, may not be able to achieve that same efficiency in the layout, same flow, and the same livable situation. And just a further comment to the time, we did build into the term sheet that if we're delayed, we have a very stiff monetary penalty that we will pay the county if we don't bring it in on time, and I think it was $300 a day. So we're confident we'll deliver it on time. We're confident, frankly, we'll deliver it early. And of course, there will be a proviso in there that if we are asking for approval on something and you guys don't give us approval within a reasonable time, then that timeline would be expanded. But we've tried to write our term sheet in a way that makes this a risk-free situation for the county, where we know what we're capable of doing, and we're going to execute our obligations honorably regardless of the situation. But where the county is not trying to be a real estate developer, going out and hiring its own engineering company and its own general contractor and trying to put together its own permit set and its own construction documents. That's not your expertise. And so I appreciate your wisdom in recognizing that an expert in that area can bring value to the situation, and again, we'll do a good job.
Just two more things on my end, and we'll unless there's anything additional, we'll call a vote. Number one, under the, and I know the answer to this, but under the term sheet, who's covering the cost of the build out and the engineering?
Well, I think that's the big thing. We're covering the cost of the build out. Your district magistrate Russo will walk in there, either turn on the lights or not turn on the lights if we have motion controls and dusk to dawn sensing and so forth, which we will engage those kinds of technologies so that we have the best energy efficiency we can. But we are carrying 100% of the cost of the build out, 100% of the cost of the acquisition of the property, renovation of the property, design, the whole shooting match. So again, the risk of the county is your obligation is to pay the rent at the end of the day. And it's the same sort of arrangement that we would typically do with some of the larger, more frankly, this is the type of thing we do with all of our clients, because this is kind of where we are. We don't look to make money on our construction services. That's how we peddle our real estate and keep things full. And it's been having Tony's expertise in the office allows us to generate designs and figure out what the numbers are and really present a compelling offering versus a more traditional model where a landlord would say, here's a building, have a ball. Now you're going out and you're hiring, trying to figure out, okay, what architect or engineer do I hire? Is the design good? Okay, what's the paint color? What's the baseboard? What's the millwork going to look like? And all of these things, and then going out and having to assemble a construction set, which would include all of the fit and finish items, and then go out to bid on it, all of which takes massive time. So I think that going this route, honestly, I think that you're saving literally a couple years and potentially a situation could easily go sideways on you. It can be a complicated business. And if you're not doing this every day, I think it's something that's well left to a careful negotiation and someone who does it every day. So,
I'll also add that you guys have probably spent what amounts to a week's worth of work just going back and forth with Rick, going back and forth with the board to do 5 iterations of drawings that you've received no compensation for that. and up until now, and even right now, even before we call the vote, no guarantee of a contract. So we certainly appreciate your willingness to put that time and effort in, even in the preliminary stages. Lastly, I'll note that as we've done in previous or in other magisterial offices, specifically the office of Jerry Cartwright, most recently the office of Melissa Modi, the staffing numbers have been taken down from what has been traditionally 4 staff judicial aides to 3 judicial aides, and that cost savings is significant, as the average employee growth in the county is around $70,000 a year. My expectation would be that upon the next retirement or resignation out of Magistrate Russo's office, that is something that we consider moving his staff down from 4 to 3, as we've done in some cases, more intensive offices. And that move would effectively pay for the cost of the rent for this space. So just something to keep in mind there.
One other issue as it relates to cost savings, and we tend to forget it or overlook it, but it goes back to the fact that we have 4 magisterial districts right now, and this proposal that the courts are making would maintain that number. Keep in mind that prior to that, we had 5.
Right.
And when Judge Rischel retired, as you all remember, a good portion of his district was tied in or combined with what was then Judge McGrath's district, is now Judge Russo's, with the exception of Slippery Rock Township, which was added to Judge Cartwright's district. My point, though, is that as a result of going from 5 to 4, at the time, we were renting out in Shenango Township on 422 for Judge Rischel's facility. That's gone, and we're saving money as a result of no longer paying rent on that particular office. And again, I think that's been either overlooked or forgotten, and I think that point needs to be made as well, now that we're down to 4.
Good point, right.
Three of which-
Definitely a good point.
3 of which we own. Obviously, Judge Amodi's right here in the old courthouse. Judge Cartwright and Judge Nicholson's buildings are both owned by the county. This one, of course, will be rented, but the fact is we're down to 4 as compared to 5, and we've had a cost savings since we're no longer paying rent at what was Judge Rischel's facility. Thank you for letting me know that. I gotta get a glass of water. Excuse me a minute, please. Sure. Give you 1 second. Does anybody want a bottle of water?
Good here.
I'll be right back. Pardon me.
And we don't even have elevator music, so we'll have to turn things.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I was just gonna start dancing.
That was a good point that Dan did bring up, that we were paying a 5th spot. Although when that closed, I know we did, the board before us rented additional spots at the Alls House building, an additional spot. I mean, it's been a long time coming, it's been painstaking. Excruciating to the point that, you know, trying to make some kind of a decision like that, yeah, it's good to actually just bring it to that close. And again, I say, you know, with Judge Russo, that the add-on was the magisterial district from the Shenango Township area, and his preference was always to have it in Shenango. So that was something that I just felt that we needed to make sure that he was comfortable with that. And again, comfortable with a location. You know, he worked very well with you guys sitting together. This is his choice. This is what he wants. The timeline is good because we've always promised, well, it'll be your last winter, it'll be your last spring, and it's finally coming to fruition, and that's another page that we get to close. So that's good.
Thank you all for your
Yes,
indulgence,
sure.
and forgive me, I got one more thought I had as I got my water. We would be remiss if we didn't thank Mr. Allshouse, who has
Sure.
been our landlord for decades.
Right.
Some of, you know, Judge McGrath, we had Judge Zedeker, Judge Reed, and I think it may go back as far as Judge Kenahan. I don't know if you remember Judge Kenahan or not, but I think his office, I know for a fact that Judge Zedeker was there in the early 80s. So that's how far, that's 40 years ago. So we've been a tenant of the Allshouse family for years, so we need to thank them for all their years and the relationship we have with them. So thank you again.
All right, anything further?
We're done.
All right, on that note, I will call, I'll take a motion on resolution 2022-36, executing the attached term sheet with Wish Development for the new magisterial office location.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you guys again.
Thank you for your patience.
And we'll get over an
Your time.
executed term sheet to you, or executed contract to you as soon as possible.
Terrific.
You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting if you've got to take off. Believe me, we understand.
I can only do with so much excitement.
Some have said it's kind of like watching paint dry.
Well, you're moving along. I'll say that. That's
Can you
appreciated.
tell how many viewers we do have?
Yeah, probably 1 or 2.
Okay, well, because it has nothing to do with you guys though, but
Person logo on that.
I mentioned at the neighborhood watch meeting on Lower East Side, our meetings are live.
We got
streamed.
5?
See, if it's anybody, Kenny Bryce, if you guys are watching from your locations, thank you for tuning in. I mentioned it at the neighborhood watch meeting last night, that we have a meeting every Tuesday at 10 o'clock and listen in and know what's happening with with your government.
Hi, Mom. Whose floors are up to 5?
It's them, it has to be, the neighborhood, very good. Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, up next, we have a resolution for the Commission Possible Vote to approve a change order with Allison Park for the Banks Covered Bridge project, actually. This was due to overruns and underruns of contract items which occurred throughout performance of work, the deletion of contract items, the addition of new items. Specifically, I'll note that, because this is a large change order, it's $121,876.42 increase. What that amounts to is the bridge had deteriorated far more than we originally anticipated when that contract was bid out. And upon removing certain portions of the bridge, they uncovered that level of deterioration. Obviously, that took a lot more in terms of cost to fix. And so this is just approving a change order, accommodating that cost increase. And again, this ensures that bridge remains in operation for hopefully centuries to come.
And as we noted earlier, these dollars are not property tax dollars. They are liquid fuel dollars for the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Joe, what number will this be?
042.
42. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2022-42.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion here? None question on the motion. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. For 3, David Allen, who we actually recently appointed to the Planning Commission, has recently moved to, I believe, is he Beaver County? Butler County. Butler County. And as a result, he can no longer remain on Lawrence County Planning Commission. And so to that end, we are appointing Cindy Moravito of Elwood City Borough to the Planning Commission with a term to expire on December 31, 2025. This is filling Dave Allen's unexpired term. Cindy was a former staffer with Senator Vogel's office, did a phenomenal job while she was on staff there. Attended at least every the few planning commission meetings I attended, she was always there. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful person. Both her and her husband Bob are great people, great community-minded people, and we're excited to have Cindy, who currently serves as an alternate, bumped up to a full-time unpaid planning commission position. So unless there are any questions or comments, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just a quick note, Mr. Allen, I'm sorry,
Well, yeah, I had a note too about the expiration date of that too.
is this incorrect on our?
Yeah, and because David Allen was
Did
appointed
he fill somebody else's
Dawn
position?
McCary.
Yes.
Oh, since the unexpired.
So,
term is unexpired.
yes, so, her term this will expire at the end of this year. I'm almost 99.9%
Seems to
sure.
be, yeah.
Because when I reached out to Cindy, I said,
Okay.
just, it will be for the year, but obviously if you want, so I
We
can,
need to amend the, you'll notice it says 2025 down
Yes, it does.
So make that 2022.
Okay.
sorry.
I'm glad you caught that. What I was going to mention is that even though it's not a legal requirement of any sort, this board and prior boards of commissioners have always made an effort to have a resident from the borough of Elwood City, which is the county's largest borough, on the commission. And as noted, Mr. Vicari served for many years before him. Bob Powell
Yes.
served for many, many years. We've had good representation from Elwood City Borough. Mr. Allen is still the borough manager,
Yes.
but as Commissioner Boyd noted, he recently moved out of the county, and one of the requirements we have is you have to be a county resident to serve on this commission. Cindy will step right in, and she'll be a welcome addition to this board. So I'm glad to second. I'm willing to amend my second if Loretta's
Yes.
willing to.
Yeah, we'll follow.
Yes.
There you go. So motion Loretta, second Dan, 2022. I'll take it. Joe, call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Cindy. Up next, a couple modification requests for our CDBG. Y'all thank God that we were the teams. Amy, what do we, and this would be 44,
Yeah,
what do we have going on with
so
Elwood?
I have two
Elwood
here.
one.
My first is a
Elwood,
modification request. So we have to do a modification request anytime we add a new activity.
Mhm.
So this would be a modification request to our CDBG CD program, where Elwood City had originally allocated funding to a small business grant. They haven't been able to utilize that or do anything with it. And this contract ends at the end of this year. So we are modifying our fiscal year 2020 CDBG contract to add the Elwood City's Teens Project. And the Teens Project is the temporary emergency assistance through meals program that LCAP has been doing for our 23 non-entitlements in Union Township and Shenango Township. They have been doing it in Elwood City the entire time, even though Elwood didn't originally allocate funds there, they were still running the program there, so they'll be able to basically invoice us for that project, so we just have to go through the motions and submit the modification request. The total amount was $57,011.32.
They originally, I know, attempted, and it was well intentioned, structure a business grant program for businesses which were impacted by COVID-19. The issue they ran into is CDBG has such intensive reporting requirements, and very, very few businesses under CDBG's guidelines and under CDBG's regulations would be able to successfully apply for that program if the money's just remained unexpended. As a result of that, and I'm glad they're moving it to the Teams program, it covers another need in the community, and it's a hell of a lot easier to draw down than CDBG's business requirements. The CDBG program is very much unlike any other business grant program run by the county or run by the state, or even the feds for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was just such an effort for a business to be able to qualify for that specific program, and it was an effort created by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. There were just too many regulations in place to allow that program to be successful as it's structured under CDBG. So I'm very glad to see that they are moving to Teams. Well-intentioned on their end.
Yeah, I mean, it just was a very good call, especially with it being under the COVID regulations too.
Yes.
I assume you had your public hearing yesterday as required. Did anybody show up to testify? Thank you.
It's a pity too, because we got a lot of CDBG funding. You can use it for a lot of different things. You wish we were. I'm looking at you, Dan, because but I don't know if Wilmington Township would even be able to qualify for an area of it, just because the income levels I assume are probably too high in Wilmington Township. So the most we really can do is housing rehab, except for a select few portions of our communities. All right, I'll take a motion to approve 2022-44.
So that's
Second, we motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion, Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel,
yes.
Commissioner Vogler,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm just not used to hearing hearing the low octave level. Resolution 2022-45, again, an amendment for Elwood City CDBG. Amy, what do we have going on?
So this is another modification. This is under our fiscal year 2019 CDBG program. They originally had put $16,000 towards removal of blight. And we got the application approved, and in the meantime, the borough already went and demolished the structure that they applied for. So there's no need for the blight funds, and there's no need for them to utilize CDBG funds since we have the redevelopment authority funds that we have, and like Morgan has said, CDBG makes things very, very difficult. So we are going to move that money and create a new project, which is Elwood City Housing Rehab, which is fantastic. They have not used CDBG to do housing rehab, and they do have a need down there. So LCAP's very excited. It's not a lot of money, but hopefully maybe next time we do an application, we can get them to allocate some more funds there. Elwood City does have an LMI block area that we've been able to use. They've done a lot of street improvements, and they're gonna get to the point where they're not gonna be able to do any more streets because that's all they've been doing. So, I'm excited to see them use some housing dollars down there. They have a home program down there, and they work with Perry Township and Elport. But these funds will only be for Elwood City residents, Lawrence County.
Oh, no, I would say that was actually one of the areas that we considered when we initiated the Union Township project. I remember sitting down and having a conversation going on, and specifically Elwood City's business district. You know, I've actually been approached by even one of the council members down there with Mr. Oviel within the last month about potentially structuring another project like the Union Township project in Elwood City. You know, I think it's absolutely something. I mean, we're starting to really see some success in getting funded in Union Township, and we've seen that success without a whole lot of investment made by either the county or Union Township. You know, I think we're still, you know, even with the designs that we're going to have to pay for the sidewalk installations, we'll still be under, my assumption, $50,000 in local costs for what right now we're up to or over $1.5 million. Which we've been very successful leveraging those grant streams. So again, I think Elwood, assuming the Union Township project continues to successfully progress as we look to target other areas, I think Elwood's ripe for the opportunity, especially when you consider the growth down there from Stonecrest, as well as the fact that Allegheny County is running out of business sites and pushing growth further north into Beaver, Butler, and Lawrence counties. Just something to consider. And I'll take a motion on resolution 2022-45.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, Scott. This should be a pretty simple one.
Yes, sir. One commissioners.
When you come, I just vote yes. So it's usually a pretty easy one. I know I don't understand this stuff, and the time it would take me to understand this stuff, I would be a 5-term commissioner.
Yeah, good morning. This is a new contract. This will be between Lawrence County MHDS and Allegheny's Unlimited. Contract will run from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. The contract will not exceed $50,000. And this is just sort of a byproduct of what we've seen locally with staffing shortages. We've got to expand our net providers. They do home and community services for our developmental and delayed residents, and they are located in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So they're coming here to serve our families. So hopefully this may be the last one I have of the year. It looks like this would wrap up our last contract we've been waiting on. So,
Questions, comments? Fine. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2022-46.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Lastly, and that number 8 is, I think, Vanessa and I, mostly Vanessa, but Vanessa and I took care of that. So number 7 will be the last item that we're voting on today. This is in relation to the county's TFAP program. Since we do a lot in acronyms, let me explain what that is. That is, it's effectively a program whereby the State Department of Agriculture provides counties with funding to help alleviate food insecurity in their counties. Lawrence County's allocation for fiscal 21, I think it was 21-22, was roughly, I want to say $130,000 to $140,000. Due to inflationary pressures, they've allocated some more money to that program, the State Department of Agriculture, that is. This budget adjustment reflects that additional allocation. I'll note that the program itself, the way that Lawrence County is structured, we actually contract with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank to administer the program on our behalf. And the way that program is administered is that local food banks have the ability to reach, or churches, or anyone providing food insecure individuals have the ability to reach out to the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank. Note that they're from Lawrence County, and the food bank in turn, through this funding, provides them directly with food for food insecure residents. So it's a great way that the Department of Agriculture is able to help our residents, and now more than ever it's needed, the potential economic impacts of COVID-19 has had on Lawrence County families. Questions, comments on that?
The Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank has done a tremendous job. In fact, when when I became a commissioner, the food distribution was done in-house. We had an employee under the jurisdiction of under the umbrella of the commissioners who oversaw that program and ran it. And at some point, I can't remember exactly when, but the food bank approached us and said, hey, here's an alternative way of doing it. And I think Ed Fosnop might have been commissioner at that point, but we went along with that proposal, and it was a good decision because they,
Absolutely.
I know you both have familiarity with them and
Yes.
the good work that they do. So glad to see we're getting a few more dollars.
I'll actually note that previously, Lawrence County and Allegheny County were the two counties that contracted with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank for the administration of this program. I believe that they just added, and I always get too confused in terms of what programs they're implementing, but I believe that they just added Washington County. And the commissioners down there voted to enter into an agreement with Pittsburgh Food Bank to administer their specific program. Our friends down there, Diane Irene Vaughn and Larry Maggi and Nick Sherman. It's a program that actually optimizes efficiencies because instead of having to have each county have one or two people manning the food program, the food bank's able to do it at a much reduced cost from the administration side, which then allows more food to flow out to our communities.
Just to add to that, I've worked a bit closer with them just because of my affiliations with different groups, and they are constantly reinventing and analyzing and getting to the best possible products that they have, and even the distribution parts of them, that they can get them. You pick the boxes are pre-done, they're made, you pick them up, you take them to your site. It's very quickly, very well done. They have a great operation, yes.
On that note, I'll take a motion to approve 2022-47.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Joe, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No ordinance on the table for introduction for final action. Next commissioners meeting is 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 15th. In the commissioners meeting room, there will be a prison board meeting on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022, in the commissioners meeting room. And the courthouse will be closed February 21st in observance of President's Day. Am I correct in assuming we're going to have a retirement board meeting coming up at some point too?
Well, I don't have it upstairs, but you're right.
Is it next week?
Might be next week.
I think it might be.
It's next week.
Yeah, just thinking in terms of, so that'll come up shortly. It'll be after a commissioners
After
meeting, whether it be next week or 3 weeks from now. But just wanted to note that. Any additional public comments? Nick? Always good to see you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just, you guys are talking about bridges, and obviously a couple weeks ago with the Pittsburgh bridge collapse. Are you guys working with either PennDOT or different municipalities on trying to fix any of the bridges that might be rated poor by PennDOT over this year or next couple of years?
Yeah, so predominantly from a municipal standpoint, the municipalities reach out to us when those bridges become in poor condition, as Wilmington Township has done recently with both Cottage Grove and Means Road. And then if we're in a position to help out the municipalities, we almost always do.
Yes.
In terms of our own bridges, we're constantly analyzing those to make sure that there's very little risk, if not no risk, of something like what happened in Pittsburgh happening in Lawrence County. And right now, all county-owned bridges, our engineers have determined are safe to drive on. But again, we continuously assess that annually to make sure that continues to be the case. And we address any maintenance issues with those bridges as they're found.
Coincidentally, Taylor Engineering, with whom we contract, may be happening as we speak, but the largest bridge that the county owns is in Elwood City Borough, the Ewing Park Bridge or the Sergeant Sabo Bridge. It is being inspected. I don't know if you saw a press release, but it is being inspected, which, as Mr. Boyd said, we do periodically. But, our role is the bridges that we own, the 28 bridges that we own, if you include the inner belt. The dollars that we get from the Commonwealth through liquid fuels, as best we've been able to do, we've tried to help other municipalities. Perry Township, we've helped them at least twice in the last decade with a couple of bridges in their township. We've assisted North Beaver Township with at least 2 that I can think of. But our role as commissioners, first and foremost, are those bridges that we own and that we're responsible for. You may want to, you're welcome to give Bill Humphrey a call at Taylor Engineering. And Bill's an open guy. He would be very happy to review with you the bridges that we own and the conditions that they're in. But Mr. Boyd was correct. We're on top of them. Many of them, look, Banks Covered Bridge. We just repaired it. And most of our county bridges are in good shape.
Thank you.
I'll also note as well, there are, throughout the years and previously, this predates Loretta and I, but previously the only funding stream through which the county had to repair its bridges was traditional liquid fuels allocations, which the county receives every year and which the municipalities receive every year for both road and bridge repairs. The state, over the course of the past 15 years, has produced, I want to say, 3 more funding streams specific to bridge and roadway repairs. 2 of those, Act 44 and Act 89, are specific to county-owned, in Lawrence County's case, county-owned bridges. And those accounts, we're fortunate that we have a significant amount of money in those accounts, which in turn allows us to use liquid fuels allocations to give out to municipalities. The other account is interesting. It's Act 13, which is generated through Marcellus dollars. That account is actually specifically for municipally owned bridges. And so the county receives, it's been decreasing in previous years because drilling operations across the state of Pennsylvania have decreased. So the amount of money that we receive from those impact fees has decreased. But that specific fund is specific to municipal owned bridges on Pennsylvania's Transportation Improvement Program. And so through that mechanism, we're able to help out a lot of the municipalities with bridge. Dan noted the 2 in Perry Township, 2 in North Beaver. I think one of the ones in North Beaver was taking care of the traditional liquid fuels. I might be wrong on that. That account, because we've used it so heavily in the last couple of years, it has a low fund balance right now. But obviously, as that fund balance grows and is replenished and as needs appear, we allocate that money as appropriate to make sure that do our part in making sure that those municipal bridges continue to be safe for the residents of Lawrence County. People always forget, transportation isn't just getting cars across bridges or cars across roads. Transportation is economic development. And without bridges, without roadways, our residents are unable to connect to the local economy, which in turn, it's prohibited to Lawrence County's economic growth. So, it's absolutely critical that we continue to maintain our roadways, our bridges, our highways, because without those, we really wouldn't have an economy.
Nick, we mentioned the 28 bridges the county owns and maintains. Mercer County has over 250 county-owned bridges. So they even have an in-house bridge department. So they have almost 10 times the number of county-owned bridges that we have. Keeps their hands full.
I'm sure it
Oh, and by the
does.
way, I need to digress a second. Speaking of Mercer County, I meant to tell you, Commissioner Scott Boyd's sister passed away about a week ago. So if you want to send her next time you see him, I just want to make note of that fact. I forgot to tell you, his sister passed away. I'm sorry.
Any additional public comments?
So Nick, I have your packet. I'll give you my packet.
Thank you.
Hearing none, Lawrence County Board of Commissioners is adjourned. You guys put down just a quick second. It's not a pressing issue, but we just got an email from a woman who wants to donate property to the county.
Oh, is that the same one you mentioned
Yeah.
a while back?
It's